Have you ever felt that someone was being just a little too nice to you? Like their smile didn't quite reach their eyes? Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling uneasy, like something was off, but you couldn't explain why? Have you ever met someone who seemed off? Their words said one thing, but your gut told you something else entirely. What if I told you that your instincts were right? That beneath every smile, every handshake, every promise, lies a hidden world of true intentions. And what if you could learn to read those intentions instantly? Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists of all time, believed that the human psyche is a labyrinth of hidden motives, desires, and fears. And the key to unlocking those secrets? It's not in what people say, but in what they don't say. Jung believed that people wear social masks. He called this mask the persona, a version of ourselves we show to the world. But behind this mask lies the shadow self, the part of us that holds our hidden desires, secret fears, and true intentions. And whether they like it or not, people leak these secrets through their body language, tone of voice, and subtle behaviors. Today we're diving into the art of reading people's true intentions, not through mind reading or magic, but through the subtle psychological cues that reveal what's really going on beneath the surface. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to see through the masks people wear and uncover their hidden motives. Let's break it down. The first thing you need to understand is that people don't always say what they mean, but their body always tells the truth. The way they shake your hand, the way they hold eye contact, even the way they stand in relation to you can reveal what they really think about you. Let's start with micro-expressions. They're the lightning-fast flashes of emotion that cross a person's face before they can stop themselves. Lasting less than half a second, these involuntary reactions are the closest thing we have to a window into someone's soul. And here's the kicker: no one can fully control them.
Think about it.
How many times have you been in a conversation where someone said all the right things, but something about their face just didn't sit right with you? Maybe their smile didn't reach their eyes, or their brow furrowed for a split second when they said, "I'm happy for you." That's a micro-expression, and it's your brain's way of telling you, pay attention. Carl Jung believed that our true selves, our shadows, are always trying to break through the masks we wear. Micro-expressions are one of the ways they do it. And once you learn to spot them, you'll start seeing them everywhere. Here's why micro-expressions are so powerful. They're controlled by the limbic system, the part of your brain that handles emotions. When you feel something strongly, your face reacts before your conscious mind can intervene. It's like your emotions are screaming, "This is how I really feel," even if your mouth is saying something completely different. And here's the best part. You don't need to be a psychologist or a human lie detector to spot them. You just need to know what to look for. According to research, there are 7 universal micro-expressions that every human on the planet shares. Let's break them down. Happiness. Genuine happiness lights up the entire face, especially the eyes. But if the smile doesn't reach the eyes, that's a fake smile, a mask hiding something else. Sadness. Sadness often shows up in the eyebrows and mouth. Even if someone's trying to act cheerful, a fleeting look of sadness can reveal their true feelings. Fear. Fear is all about the eyes. If someone's eyes widen for just a moment, even while they're saying, "I'm not scared," you can bet they're feeling the opposite. Anger. Anger often shows up in the lower face, clenched jaws, tightened lips. If you see this micro-expression during a calm conversation, tread carefully. Surprise. Surprise is quick and unmistakable, but if someone's surprised for too long, it's probably fake. Disgust. Disgust is often directed at people or ideas. If you see this micro-expression when someone's talking about a colleague or a plan, they're not as on board as they claim. Contempt. Contempt is the most dangerous micro-expression. It's a sign of disrespect or superiority. If you see this, it's a red flag that someone doesn't value you or your ideas. Let's put this into practice. Imagine you're in a job interview. The interviewer is smiling and saying all the right things, but you catch a micro-expression of contempt when you mention your previous salary. What does that tell you? They might not respect your worth, or they're planning to lowball you. Or you're on a date. Your partner is laughing and smiling, but you notice a micro-expression of sadness when they talk about their ex. That's a sign they might not be over their past relationship. Even in business, micro-expressions can save you from bad deals. If a colleague says, "Great idea," but their face flashes disgust, you know they're not being honest. That's your cue to dig deeper or reconsider your approach. Now you might be thinking, how do I get better at spotting these? Here's the good news. It's a skill you can develop. Start by paying attention to people's faces in everyday conversations. Watch for those fleeting moments when their expression doesn't match their words. You can also practice with videos. Pause and replay moments when people's emotions seem off. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns, and once you do, you'll never look at conversations the same way again. Micro-expressions are just the beginning. What if I told you there's a way to predict someone's intentions before they even speak? Imagine this. You're at a party, and across the room, you see two people talking. One is leaning in, nodding enthusiastically, while the other is standing stiffly, arms crossed, glancing at the door. Without hearing a single word, you already know who's engaged and who's counting down the seconds to leave. That's the power of body language. Body language is like a silent conversation happening beneath the surface. It's how our bodies communicate what our words often can't or won't. And when it comes to reading someone's true intentions, mastering this silent language is your superpower. Let's start with posture. The way someone holds themselves can tell you volumes about their mindset. An open, upright posture suggests confidence and engagement. But if someone's slouched or turned away, it's a sign they're either disinterested, defensive, or hiding something. Now let's talk about proxemics, the study of personal space. How close someone stands to you can reveal their level of comfort or their intentions. If they lean in during a conversation, they're likely interested or trying to build rapport. But if they step back or create distance, they might be uncomfortable or withholding. Think about it. When you're with someone you trust, you naturally close the gap. But when you're unsure or guarded, you keep your distance. It's a primal instinct, and it's one of the easiest ways to gauge someone's true feelings. Now, let's zoom in on the hands. They're one of the most expressive parts of the body, and they can't help but reveal what's going on inside. Open, relaxed hands suggest honesty and openness. But clenched fists, that's a sign of tension, frustration, or even aggression. Pay attention to gestures too. If someone's using their hands to emphasize their words, it's a sign they're passionate and engaged. But if their hands are stiff or hidden, like in their pockets or behind their back, it could mean they're holding something back. Here's a real-world example. In a job interview, someone might say all the right things, but if their hands are white-knuckling the chair, it's a clear sign they're nervous or unsure. That's the kind of detail that can help you see beyond the scripted answers. And then there are the eyes. Jung called them the windows to the soul, and for good reason. The eyes can reveal emotions that even the most skilled liar can't fully control. Dilated pupils, for example, can indicate interest or excitement, but averted gaze? That's often a sign of discomfort or deceit. Here's a pro tip. Watch for micro-gazes. If someone quickly glances at the door during a conversation, it's a subconscious signal that they want to leave. If they look down after making a statement, it could mean they're unsure or hiding something. These tiny movements are like breadcrumbs, leading you to their true intentions. Think about how this applies in relationships. If your partner avoids eye contact during an important conversation, it's not just awkward, it's a sign they might be avoiding the truth. By tuning into these cues, you can address what's really going on beneath the surface. Now, here's a little-known secret. The feet are the most honest part of the body. While the face and hands can be controlled, the feet often act on pure instinct. If someone's feet are pointed toward you, they're engaged. But if they're pointed toward the door, they're mentally already out of there. This is especially useful in networking or social situations. If you're talking to someone and their feet are angled away, it's a sign they're not fully invested in the conversation. Use that insight to either wrap things up or find a way to re-engage them. In a business setting, this can help you gauge who's truly on board with an idea and who's just going through the motions. It's a subtle cue, but once you start looking for it, you'll see it everywhere. So, how can you use this in your everyday life? Let's say you're negotiating a deal. If the other person is leaning back, arms crossed, and their feet are pointed away, it's a sign they're not fully on board. That's your cue to address their concerns or adjust your approach. Or maybe you're a parent trying to connect with your teenager. If they're giving you one-word answers while their body is turned away, it's a sign they're not ready to open up. Instead of pushing, try creating a more open, non-confrontational space. The key is to observe without judgment. Body language isn't about jumping to conclusions, it's about gathering clues. And when you combine those clues with empathy and intuition, you'll be amazed at how much you can uncover. Words are powerful, but they're only half the story. The real magic, or the real truth, lies in the tone behind them. Tone is the emotional fingerprint of speech. It's how we say what we say, and it often reveals what we're trying to hide. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're at work and your colleague says, "Sure, I'll help you with that project." But their tone is flat, almost robotic. What does that tell you? On the surface, they're agreeing, but their tone suggests reluctance, maybe even resentment. That's your cue to dig deeper. Tone can betray emotions that words try to mask. A shaky voice might reveal anxiety. A sudden spike in pitch could indicate excitement or defensiveness. Even a pause, a breath, or a sigh can speak volumes. Jung called these unconscious leaks, moments when the shadow self slips through the cracks of the persona. Here's how you can apply this in real life. Let's say you're negotiating with someone. They say, "This is my final offer," but their tone is hesitant, unsure. That's a sign they might be bluffing. Or imagine a friend says, "I'm fine," but their voice is tight, strained. That's your cue to ask, "Are you really?" In a job interview, a candidate might say, "I'm very confident in my skills," but if their tone lacks conviction, it's a red flag. On a first date, someone might say, "I'm not seeing anyone else," but if their tone is too casual, too rehearsed, they might not be telling the whole truth. Even in family dynamics, a parent might say, "I'm not angry," but their clipped tone says otherwise. The key is to listen not just to what's being said, but how it's being said. Pay attention to the rhythm, the pitch, the pauses. Does their tone match their words? If not, why? What are they trying to hide? And more importantly, what are they afraid of revealing? Jung believed that the unconscious mind is always trying to communicate with us, often through these subtle cues. By tuning into tone, you're not just listening to someone's words, you're listening to their soul. Mastering the art of reading tone isn't just about listening. It's about training your ear to detect the subtle rhythms and patterns of speech. It's like tuning an instrument. Once you know what to listen for, you'll hear the truth in every conversation. Let's break it down. Start by listening for consistency. Does their tone remain steady, or does it fluctuate? A steady tone often indicates confidence and honesty. But sudden shifts, like a drop in pitch or a quickening pace, can signal discomfort, doubt, or even deception. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you're in a conversation, try this. Focus on the person's baseline tone. How do they normally speak when they're relaxed and truthful? Once you've established that, listen for deviations. If their tone suddenly becomes higher, faster, or more forced, that's your cue to pay attention. Take, for instance, this scenario of a job interview. The interviewer asks, "Why did you leave your last job?" The candidate responds, "It was just time for a change." But their tone rises slightly on the word change, and they speak faster than usual. In this example, the candidate's tone suggests there's more to the story. Maybe they're hiding something, or maybe they're nervous. Either way, the tonal shift is a clue that something's off. Another technique is to listen for emotional undertones. Anger, fear, joy, sadness. They all have distinct tonal signatures. Anger often comes with a sharp, clipped tone. Fear might make the voice tremble or go flat. Joy is usually bright and expansive. Sadness can make the voice heavy, slow. By identifying these emotional undertones, you can get a clearer picture of what someone's really feeling, even if their words say otherwise. Now that you know how to read micro-expressions, body language and tone, it's time to put it all together. In real-life situations, these cues don't exist in isolation. They overlap and interact, creating a rich tapestry of information. Take this handshake, for example. The firm grip might suggest confidence, but the lack of eye contact and the overly enthusiastic tone could indicate insincerity. When you combine these cues, a clearer picture emerges. This person might be trying too hard to impress, or they might not be as trustworthy as they seem. Here's the key. Always look for patterns. One cue might not mean much on its own, but when you see multiple cues pointing in the same direction, that's when you can be more confident in your reading. Before we go any further, it's important to talk about the ethics of this skill. Reading someone's intentions is a powerful tool, but with great power comes great responsibility. It's not about manipulating people or playing mind games. It's about understanding, empathy, and building better connections. In therapy, for example, this skill is used to help people uncover their own truths and heal. In relationships, it can help you communicate more effectively and resolve conflicts. In business, it can help you negotiate with integrity and build trust. Remember, the goal isn't to catch people in lies or to judge them. It's to see them more clearly, to understand their fears, their desires, their struggles, and in doing so, to understand yourself better as well. In the final part of this series, we're going to explore the most subtle, elusive cues of all, the ones that even the most skilled observers often miss. These are the secrets that lie in the silence between words, in the flicker of an eye, in the almost imperceptible shifts of energy. Stay tuned, because this is where the real magic happens. Now that you've mastered all the basics, it's time to take it to the next level. What happens when someone's a master of deception? How do you spot the most well-hidden motives? Stay with me, because in the next part, we're diving into the advanced techniques that even the most skilled manipulators can't hide from. Chess is a game of strategy, where every move is calculated to outwit the opponent. But what happens when you're not just playing against a person's moves, but their masks? When someone is a master of deception, they've learned to control their words, their expressions, even their body language. But here's the thing, no one is perfect. And that's where the advanced techniques come in. To read the masters of deception, you need to look beyond the obvious. You need to spot the inconsistencies, the tiny cracks in their facade. And to do that, you'll need to sharpen your observation skills and trust your intuition. The first step is baselining. This is where you observe someone's normal behavior, how they act when they're relaxed and not trying to hide anything. Once you know their baseline, Any deviations from it become glaring red flags. For example, if someone usually speaks with steady hands but suddenly starts fidgeting during a specific topic, that's a sign something's up. Or if they're typically expressive but become unusually still, it could mean they're trying to control their reactions. Think about poker players. The best ones don't just watch for obvious tells, they look for deviations from their opponent's baseline. A sudden change in breathing, a shift in posture, or a micro-expression that flashes for a fraction of a second. These are the clues that can reveal a bluff. Next, let's talk about congruence. This is when someone's words, tone, and body language all align. When they're congruent, they're likely being genuine. But when there's a mismatch, that's your cue to dig deeper. For instance, if someone says they're excited about an idea, but their voice is flat and their arms are crossed, they're probably not as enthusiastic as they claim. Or if they apologize but their tone is sarcastic and their eyes are rolling, their apology isn't sincere. In a sales situation, spotting incongruence can save you from making a bad decision. If the salesperson's words don't match their body language, it's a sign they might be hiding something about the product. Now let's talk about pattern recognition. People are creatures of habit, and their behaviors often follow patterns. By observing these patterns, you can predict their intentions and spot when something's off. For example, if someone always crosses their arms when they're defensive, that's a pattern. If they suddenly stop doing that during a critical conversation, it could mean they're trying to appear more open than they really are. In relationships, pattern recognition can help you spot changes in behavior that might indicate underlying issues. If your partner suddenly starts avoiding eye contact or becomes unusually secretive, it's worth exploring why. Finally, let's talk about intuition. Carl Jung believed that intuition is a powerful tool for understanding the unconscious mind. It's that gut feeling you get when something doesn't quite add up, even if you can't put your finger on why. Your intuition is like a silent alarm. It picks up on subtle cues that your conscious mind might miss. And while it's not infallible, it's often your first clue that someone's intentions aren't what they seem. Imagine you're in a job interview and the interviewer seems friendly, but something about their tone or body language makes you uneasy. That's your intuition warning you to proceed with caution. By paying attention to that feeling, you can avoid situations that might not be in your best interest. Now that you've learned the advanced techniques, it's time to put them into practice. How do you combine baselining, congruence, pattern recognition, and intuition to read someone's true intentions in real time? Stay with me, because in the final part, we're going to walk through a step-by-step framework that ties it all together. Reading someone's true intentions isn't about guessing, it's about observing, analyzing, and connecting the dots. Here's a step-by-step framework to help you do just that. Step 1. Observe without judgment. This is where you take in the big picture. Watch their posture, their gestures, their facial expressions, and their tone. Don't jump to conclusions, just gather data. Think of yourself as a detective. Your job is to notice everything: how they sit, how they hold their hands, how often they make eye contact. Even the way they breathe can be a clue. For example, if someone's hands are steady one moment and trembling the next, that's a detail worth noting. It could mean they're nervous about a specific topic or hiding something. Step 2. Establish a baseline. This is where you compare their current behavior to how they usually act. If you don't know the person well, spend a few minutes observing them in a neutral setting before diving into deeper conversations. Ask yourself, how do they act when they're relaxed? How do they gesture when they're excited? What does their voice sound like when they're being genuine? Once you know their baseline, any deviations will stand out like a flashing neon sign. In an interview, for example, if the candidate starts off strong but suddenly becomes tense when asked about their experience, It's a sign that topic might be a weak spot for them. Step 3. Look for incongruence. This is where you compare their words to their body language and tone. If there's a mismatch, it's a sign they might not be telling the whole truth. Ask yourself, does their smile reach their eyes? Does their tone match their words? Are their gestures open and inviting or closed and defensive? These are the subtle cues that reveal what's really going on. In relationships, spotting incongruence can help you address underlying issues before they escalate. If your partner says they're not mad, but their body language says otherwise, it's a sign you need to dig deeper. Step 4. Trust your intuition. Your gut feeling is your subconscious mind picking up on cues that your conscious mind might miss. If something feels off, don't ignore it. Think of your intuition as your inner compass. It might not always give you the full picture, but it's often your first clue that something's not right. Use it to guide your next steps. In business, trusting your intuition can save you from making costly mistakes. If a deal seems too good to be true, or if someone's behavior feels off, it's worth taking a step back and reassessing. Step 5. Connect the dots. This is where you take all the clues you've gathered and piece them together to form a complete picture. Look for patterns, inconsistencies, and deviations from their baseline. Ask yourself, what story do these clues tell? Are they nervous, defensive, or hiding something? Or are they genuinely engaged and honest? By connecting the dots, you can uncover their true intentions. In a negotiation, for example, if the other party starts off open and engaged, but becomes closed off when discussing specific terms, it's a sign those terms might be a sticking point for them. Finally, step 6. Respond with empathy. Once you've read someone's intentions, it's important to approach the situation with understanding and compassion. Whether they're hiding something, feeling nervous, or being dishonest, your response can either escalate or diffuse the situation. Remember, the goal isn't to catch someone in a lie or expose their secrets. It's to understand them better and build stronger, more authentic connections. In a workplace setting, for example, if you notice an employee is nervous during a performance review, you can adjust your tone and approach to make them feel more comfortable. This not only helps you get to the root of the issue, but also builds trust and rapport. Reading someone's true intentions isn't about manipulation or control. It's about understanding. It's about seeing beyond the masks we all wear and connecting with the real person underneath. And with these tools, you're now equipped to do just that. Whether you're navigating relationships, advancing your career, or simply trying to understand the people around you, these techniques will help you see the world and the people in it more clearly. Now it's your turn. The tools are in your hands: micro-expressions, body language, tone, and the patterns that connect them. But knowledge is only power when you put it into practice. So, I challenge you. The next time you're in a conversation, listen not just to the words, but to the story beneath them. Observe, reflect, and connect. You'll be amazed at what you discover. Understanding others starts with understanding yourself. So take this skill, use it wisely, and watch how it transforms your relationships, your career, and your life. If you found this video valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could benefit from it. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a deep dive into the mysteries of the human mind. Because the more we understand each other, the better we can navigate this world together. Until next time, remember, the truth is always there if you know how to look for it.